Okay, so I think everyone knows the game 7 Minutes in Heaven, and I've talked about this so many times on the channel, but today's story is about doing 7 minutes in heaven at a slumber party. And what happens in the slumber party was the most bizarre thing, but at the same time embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me in a long time. So obviously, before we get into the story, make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, means a lot when you guys do. And let's just jump straight into this embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing story time. So today's story all takes place back when I was in grade 11. Now in grade 11, I'm not gonna lie to you, one thing I was usually invited to was parties, but the way I was invited to this party was the most weirdest invite ever, because I remember I was sitting in the cafeteria just eating my sandwich in the middle of lunchtime, and I remember this girl ends up walking up to me. Now this girl, she was a part of the cheerleading team in the school, and well, let's just say her walking up to me was very bizarre, because yes, I did play rugby, but no, I never really had a good reputation with the cheerleaders because most of them did hate me. But this one girl did not hate me, and she was hosting a house party that was happening, and when she came up to me, she said, "Hey Bubba, I'm hosting this crazy party at my place tomorrow. I was wondering if you wanted to like join in." Yeah, sure, I'm in for a party. What time is it at? Oh, it's starting like really late at like 10, but make sure you bring your pajamas. Why am I bringing my pajamas? Well, like obviously, aren't you gonna stay the night? You want me to stay the night? Now at this point, I thought she wanted me to like, you know, stay the night and me and her can do the devil's tango. And you know, maybe like she wanted to like make something between us happen, you know what I mean? And I wasn't gonna say no because she was a hot cheerleader. But then she ended up saying, well, yeah, but also I want everyone else to stay the night too. Like it's a slumber party. Oh, it's a slumber party. Yeah, sure, I'm in. Yeah. What time is it at? Well, it starts at 9 and everyone leaves tomorrow morning before 12. Okay, yeah, cool. I'll be there. Now, when I heard about a slumber party happening, obviously I found it really weird because what kind of girl hosts a party with guys and girls having a sleepover? Like it's never been seen before, nor ever been said until today. And I remember I was so confused on how that was gonna work. I ended up going to some of my buddies that were probably gonna get invited to this party. When I went up to them, I said, yo, guys, I was just curious. Are you guys invited to this party that's going on this weekend? Nah, bro, I never got invited to that party. Apparently, like, a lot of girls are going, so they're trying to make it, like, more girls than guys. So if you were invited, like, good stuff, bro. I remember he ended up dabbing me up, and I was so confused on what was going on because, like, why was I invited? Obviously, I found this weird, but at the same time, I got really excited when he told me that more girls were going than guys, to the point where, I'm not gonna lie to you, I knew this party was gonna be one to remember. And oh boy, it was. Because what ends up happening next was really, really weird. I remember the next day, it was a Saturday, and basically, I didn't have school, and I kind of just ended up doing my house chores and everything and playing Call of Duty in the morning. And then when it came towards the nighttime, I remember I got my PJs on, and I got my sleeping bag, and I basically prepared my car and drove over to this girl's house. When I got to this girl's house, I remember I was like really excited to see who was gonna be there because obviously, like my friend said earlier, there was a lot more girls than guys going. And when I got to the front door, I remember instantly, out of nowhere, this girl ends up answering the door that absolutely hated me. I am not joking when I say this. Like, this girl was the definition of an emo girl that just hated all the good things in life, including me. And I remember she looked at me saying, oh, okay, well, welcome to the party. Everyone's over there, Bubba. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I'll see you there, I guess. And I remember I ended up going into the party and I was just basically having a good time drinking, which, by the way, do not underage drink, guys. It is not a smart thing to do, and also it is not cool. The only reason I did it was to pretend to be cool. Going on with the story, I remember basically there was a lot of people there and mostly a lot of girls, like my friend said. And I remember me, I was just hopping girl to girl, trying to talk to each and every single one of them. Obviously, there was like 3 other guys there, but what can I say? I think I was the only guy at the rugby team at the time, and honestly, a lot of these girls were basically, I guess, trying to, you know, have a good time with like a certain guy. It was one of the most weirdest situations ever because I never had that many girls surrounding me at once. Well, I mean, I did, but not this time back when I was in grade 11. And then out of nowhere, I remember when everyone was there finally, it was around like 10 o'clock at night. One of the girls ended up going on top of a table saying, oh my goodness, guys, we should play a game. We should all play 7 minutes in heaven. Now, this is where the story gets really weird because when she announced that, a lot of girls were on board. And me and the 3 other guys that were there just kept looking at each other thinking, is this really a good idea to do with this many girls? Obviously, though, we didn't really care. We were all excited to be there. So we all ended up sitting in a circle. And basically, I remember I sat beside the party host and she handed me the bottle that we were spinning for choosing who gets to go in the closet first. And she gave it to me saying, okay, Bubba, you spin. Yeah, okay, I'll spin. And I remember once I placed that bottle down, I spun it and it landed on the girl that hated my guts. Yeah, the one that answered the door in the beginning. She basically ended up getting the bottle landed on her and she looks at me saying, oh, you gotta be joking. I remember she didn't want to get up and nor did I, but then the host of the party said, guys, you have to obey the rules. Just get in the closet for like 7 minutes. It won't kill you. I remember me and her, we ended up just looking at each other. We both stood up at the same time, really awkwardly, and we both ended up walking into the closet. When we went in there, I remember me and this girl we didn't know what the issue was between each other. We didn't understand why we hated each other, nothing. So I remember I looked at her and basically with the lights on in the closet, I said, I'm just curious, why do you hate me? Like, what did I do to you? What did you do to me? Are you really gonna ask that right now? Baba, you literally did the devil's tango with one of my friends and never called her back. You know how much that hurt her feelings? Oh, wait, so that's what you're mad about? Because something I did to your friend, not even to you? You don't know how it feels. I don't know how it feels to be left after doing the devil's tango. Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Wait, why is that such a big issue? And me and her, we ended up yelling at each other inside the closet, and it was pretty obvious everyone outside of the closet heard us yell at each other. And then I remember as things kept getting heated and heated in that closet, me and her just kept yelling and yelling and yelling at each other. It got to a point where me and her, we got so close to the point where we started making out. I don't know how. I guess, you know, in the heat in the moment, me and her just both thought since we leaned into each other and since we were in a really tight space, we just started making out for some reason. And that wasn't even the craziest part, because later on she ended up grabbing my pants and yeah, we ended up doing the devil's tango. I will say this much, it was one of the most awkward high school experiences I've had in a closet, but I mean, it was 7 minutes in heaven. In a way, we still had like, what, 4 minutes left to do whatever we wanted after yelling at each other for like the other, like, what, 5 minutes? So I mean, it is what it is. But if you guys thought the story ended there, no, because let's just say after we came out of the closet, everyone started basically looking at each other confused of how we went from yelling at each other to basically going dead silent and doing our own thing, in which I don't blame them for being confused. Me and her, we decided not to say anything that happened because we decided that me and her, we just hate each other. Now, I think this next part of the story really made me question everything that happened in that party, because things get even weirder between me and this girl. Because I remember later on at night, it became like, I want to say like 11:30 to 12 almost, and a lot of people were getting tired. So I remember I basically got my bed set up and everything, and I ended up sleeping in the living room close to the other 3 other dudes that were there. We basically hogged the TV and started watching a movie together as just the guys, even though we barely knew each other because we're all from like different sectors of school. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, basically like one was like, you know, a nerd, the other one was like a rugby player, which was me, the other one was like a theater kid. Like, it was just like the most weirdest group of guys that you will never see end up hanging out together. And I remember as we were watching this movie, most of us ended up passing out except me, because I can't sleep during movies. It just doesn't make sense to me to sleep halfway through a movie. But then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing footsteps coming down the stairs. I looked to go see who it was, and I ended up seeing that it was the girl that hated me. She looked over at me and said, "Baba, come here. Come here, Baba." I remember when I went upstairs and said, "Yo, like, what's going on?" She said, "Baba, honestly, after what you did to my friend, you really made me upset. And honestly, I'm gonna punish you my way." Me and her, we ended up going into another room, which was the most weirdest thing ever, because we ended up going into her parents' room of all rooms. And me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango almost all night in that room with the girl that literally hated me. It made no sense how this happened, and honestly, I was super confused. But let's just say the next morning when me and her both woke up, things got super awkward, because I remember all my friends ended up basically waking up earlier than us, and they basically ended up seeing me and this girl in the host's parents' room. And yeah, let's just say things got really awkward, and obviously me and her, we had to explain to everyone how basically, like, you know, it was a mistake, even though I guess in a way it really wasn't, because afterwards me and her, we became friends with benefits, which didn't last long. But hey, it is what it is. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's embarrassing story. Make sure you guys press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.